Donald Trump and his surrogates are still trying to lodge something approaching a defense of his, from my point of view, indefensible comments about Hillary Clinton and the Second Amendment people and how they might stop her from choosing justices for the Supreme Court. If you missed his original comments, which came out yesterday, I'm going to read them for you, and you can bear in mind as we go forward to the people defending him that this is what he said. Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is. I don't know. That will be a horrible day. So I'm going to come right out and say, I know that Jenk said on the show yesterday, this was a joke about people who like guns killing Hillary Clinton. That is all that this was. And I understand that if you are a supporter of Donald Trump, if you work for his PR department or whatever, if you're a surrogate on TV, you have to sigh and then go on TV and try to defend this obvious joke about assassinating Hillary Clinton. And so I feel bad for those people to some extent that that's the job that they signed up for. But that's what he said. That's what he meant. And here first is Donald Trump attempting to make it about something completely different.
Nobody in that room thought anything other than what you just said. This is a political movement. This is a strong, powerful movement, the Second Amendment. You know, Hillary wants to take your guns away. She wants to leave you unprotected in your home. This is a tremendous political movement. The NRA, as you know, endorsed me. They're terrific people, Wayne and Chris and all of the people over there. And by the way, they've already, I just saw, they tweeted out, basically they agree 100% with what I said. And there can be no other interpretation. Even reporters have told me, I mean, give me a break.
I love the vague, people are saying, people told, who told you that?
Specific person. When the whole Muslim thing, I have a lot of Muslim friends who told me that they support me. What? Name one.
Yeah,
name one. You know, I don't believe he has a Muslim friend, honestly, until he shows me. Last night I had dinner with a fairly prominent member of the mainstream media. I hate to say it. I hate that phrase even.
Was it Bob Beckel?
It was Bob Beckel, yeah. That was the mainstream
Was it
media.
Don Lemon?
Anyway, and he said, what do you think of this Trump thing? We were obviously talking about it. And I said, well, I think it's a really terrible thing he said. And I think it is one of the worst things I've ever heard on a campaign. And then he said, do you think that he meant it? And I said, in defense of me and everything I've said before, is sometimes I don't think he means what he says or means what he says he meant he said. I just think he just goes. And he said, I agree with that. I agree with that. I said, but in this case, I think he meant what he said. And I think he knew what he said, because when you give a throwaway line, you know that. We give throwaway lines here all the time. There's more than a seed of truth in that. So he thought, he had a moment. It was an improv. He said it. Yeah, damn right.
If you roll the tape a little farther, too, which no one does, he says after that, that would be a horrible thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's why I put it in the quote. I made sure that it was in the
exactly
quote.
right.
But yeah, it does generally get cut off.
Yeah, so people...
But they're defending it. Sorry to interrupt, but what they're saying is he's saying that could happen, which would be terrible. So as if Trump is somehow defending Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jimmy.
But now the defense is that he just said his defense is that, no, I'm just talking about rallying people who care about the Second Amendment to go out and vote. No, you talked about after the vote happened and she appoints Supreme Court people, then the Second Amendment people. So that's why it's bullshit. And if you play the tape just a little bit farther to include that part of the quote where he said that would be horrible, there's no...
Yeah, exactly.
There's no getting out of that.
Yeah, based on the context, I mean, he has set up a scenario where she is already president, and now she's choosing Supreme Court justices. So all of this organizing to vote against her bullshit, no, he has already ruled that out in his comment. And then he says that would be horrible. But if he's referencing her not getting in because the Second Amendment folks voted her out, that, from his point of view, would not be horrible. So it is entirely internally inconsistent to say that this has anything to do with political organization, aside from shooting somebody to stop them from choosing justices. And by the way, Tim Kaine would probably honor whoever she wanted on the Supreme Court anyway, so it's a stupid comment. And it doesn't make sense anyway, because the idea that, I know, but I'm saying the idea that, the only ones who are big enough and organized enough to stop her are the Second Amendment folks, not like the pro-abortion or the anti-abortion folks. It doesn't even make sense. There are so much bigger interest groups in the Republican side of things that doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. One thing that makes some sense, perhaps, is if you just try to distract by focusing on the fact that he almost never makes any sense, which is what, in this video, Representative Duncan Hunter is going to do.
you understand why they're suggesting he was entering into this awful world of potential violence.
Sure. Well, so I would disagree with you on this point. You're treating Trump's words like he is the most articulate person who's ever graced our ears with his words. And that is not true. He is not a politician. He is not a person like you who's very articulate, very well spoken. He's a business person who's running for president. So I don't think that the way that he said that and the sequence of his statements, I'm not going to judge him on that because I don't think that's what he meant, and I think that he can be inarticulate at times. What I think he just meant by that, and by what he said is, we can stop her from becoming president, we can stop Hillary Clinton from being the person who picks the next Supreme Court judges. So let's say that he was an English professor with a PhD in grammar, then I think that we could go through it this way and dissect what he said literally based off the sequence that he said it. But I'm not doing that with Mr. Trump because you can't do that with Mr. Trump, right?
Yeah, the stupid smile on his face shows that he doesn't believe what he's actually saying. And look, we're not going to show the video, but Don Lemon had a great back and forth with a former Secret Service member where he's just like, look, stop with the lies. You're lying. We have eyes. We have ears. We know exactly what he was saying. There's the video of the close-up right after Trump says it, of the guy in the audience who says, wow.
Yeah.
Because he knows, we know what the joke was. Stop fucking lying about the things that you said. Or stop saying that this is the straight shooter who tells it like it is, that he's not afraid to not be PC. Stop saying crazy shit and then backtracking because you're scared of the fallout. It is insane to even joke about killing a political opponent or saying that the stakes are so high on the Supreme Court that the only recourse would be to murder that person. That is unacceptable. It doesn't matter if you're a conservative or you're a liberal. That is not a line that we should ever cross in our country. Other countries have crossed that line. It hasn't ended well for them or for their populations. And that guy, I don't know anything about his career aside from his defense of Donald Trump now, but we have Paul Ryan. We're probably not going to read them all, but Rudy Giuliani defending him, Paul Ryan defending him, Peter King defending him. He's joking about murdering political opponents. If this is not the line, is there any line? I mean, he already said that he could potentially use nukes, just casually use nukes. Now he's talking about potentially murdering or his supporters murdering political opponents. Is there any line that will cause Republicans, the most prominent, high-profile leadership Republicans, to not support this jackass?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yes, there are lines because each time he crosses one of them, some of them peel back.
A couple of congressmen.
Yeah, well, but those are the ones that matter in the scheme of this. And I think, the polling shows that people are pulling back who aren't congressmen too.
Yeah.
And we talked about nepotism. That's Duncan Hunter. Maybe getting rid of nepotism in Congress, not a bad idea at some point too. Duncan Hunter, his father, Duncan Hunter, was a representative.
Duncan Hunter, by the way, sounds a lot like Shadow Stevens.
Yeah, he doesn't talk anything like his father.
No, does he do any morning radio? Because he certainly could, buddy, I'll tell you that. Him and Mark Thompson should do a show together.
Not a radio show. You'd never be able to tell who's speaking.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, Mark Thompson. I'd probably with Shadow Stevens.
Mark Thompson from The Edge, by the way, The Edge
Show,
podcast.
edge-show.com.
Yeah, you should check that out. And then I liked the banner. That's really my favorite, the breaking news banner on CNN. Secret Service aware of Trump remarks. Because they were standing right the fuck there,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Aware.
Of course they're aware of them,
And I've heard mixed. I heard that they had multiple conversations with the campaign after this, and then I heard that they hadn't. So I don't know if they're actually taking it seriously.
I don't know if it was the AP where I read it, but I'm going to loosely say it was the AP said that they met with the Trump campaign today.
And Hillary Clinton, it was too late for us to get the video, but right prior to us going live, she said that he's encouraging violence with his comments about the Second Amendment. She's been being very hands-off recently.
Yes, she has. Well, that's smart. I mean, just let him self-destruct. There's nothing she can do or needs to do. I mean, it's smart politics. In 1968, during the presidential election, they issued these Robert Kennedy dartboards with his face in a dartboard, and you saw where that went.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these things are serious.
You know what? There was
even if they don't
someone else
seem-
more recent, Michael, even who put the gun. What do you call those
The
crosshairs?
reticles.
The crosshairs over.
Oh, that was Sarah Palin. That was our vice presidential
It was Sarah
nominee.
Palin who did that.
And
right.
Sharon Engel made comments about
So the
Second
vice
Amendment
president
solutions.
nominee in 2008 said to put the gun things, and then all of a sudden one of those people actually did get shot in the head.
Yeah,
Gabby
Giffords, right.
Giffords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, here we are now. Then it was the Sharon Engel saying Second Amendment right. Now we have the president. So it was the vice presidential candidate before. Now it's the presidential nominee saying it. I got to tell you, it's those lefties who are violent and crazy. And what a pussy, too, by the way, to not stand up to when you say something like that. His whole thing is, I'm a straight talker. I don't care. Just like you were saying. Yeah. And then you don't have the guts to stand up to it. His supporters.
Jimmy, he doesn't have the guts to stand up to one thing he said.
Yeah, he always backtracks.
He either says, I didn't mean it, or, yeah, that's what I believe, but it's not that big a deal.
But it's weird, too, that, so he mocks the handicapped. He calls all Mexicans rapists. He wants to ban all Muslims. He wants to deport 11 million Mexicans. He's been anti-Semitic. He wants to bang his own daughter. But this is the thing that's a little too far.
Well, I mean,
just a little bit too far.
I mean, but I'm talking about the politicians who now are peeling off.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It's happened,
It's happened
it happened with
slowly.
Curiel a little bit. It happened with Khan.
Yeah.
It's happening with this. Just put the guy on autopilot, and it's just going to keep happening.
And here's the thing: it's easier and easier for at least the low-level ones to not choose to back him. As we get farther away from the conventions and this polling advantage that Hillary Clinton has now, it's looking like he's probably not going to be the president. So what do you feel you owe him at this point?
So
if he's not doing anything for you, and he's not going to be the leader of the party,
Mitch McConnell's going to get into a huddle with his people and say, just start running away from him.
Yeah.
So that we can
unless
hang
the
on to
polls
Senate.
change significantly in the next
even
couple
still,
weeks.
I think it's going to
so?
happen sooner.
Can you be part of independent media without being a member of the Young Turks?
Hell no, you can't!
Join right now. Be the independent media. Be the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.